Where have you been all this time? I've never felt.
3, 2, 1, and we're live. Shame of Thrones did not come up with that. Did not come up with that, by the way. Fail of Thrones, whatever you want to call it. ESP, Trash of Thrones, Facepalm of Thrones, Season 2, Episode 5. Yeah, this is what we're working with. Big steaming pile of trash.
It was awful.
Yeah.
I'm still really not over it.
No, it's kind of like, I mean, we might as well just jump right into it. It's just, yeah.
I honestly haven't stopped
No
talking
words
about it at all.
I haven't either. Well, both of us are writing our own fan fiction.
Yeah.
Just to cope. Grief management. We're
Yeah.
going through the process of grieving at the loss of one of our favorite shows.
It's helping though. It is
Is it
helping.
good? Yeah. No, well, writing is one of the most therapeutic things that you can do.
Mm.
So I'm writing like sort of a continuation of the ending, and you're writing I think you're doing a redo of the ending, right? Rewriting
Yeah,
the ending
I'm like
your own way?
rewriting how I think season 8 should have gone.
So many people are doing that in their own way.
Yeah.
Just
Well, I
to
kind of
cope.
well, like I started doing it and I got kind of like halfway through, and then that's when you kind of introduced me to your story, and I felt more connected to that just because what's happened has already happened and there's no changing it. So
Well, there are a
Yeah.
lot of people that are rewriting the endings though, just to
yeah, just to kind
have
of
something that's more
Yeah.
satisfying than what we got.
just be like, my ending's the better ending.
And what we got was trash.
Yeah.
So, big shout out right away to nerdrotic.com. They gave us a shout out on their YouTube channel last week
Mm-hmm.
on one of their Game of Thrones videos from a super chat that I sent in. So, thank you to Gary at Nerdrotic. We love you. You're awesome.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah. And keep doing what you're doing, man. We are the fandom menace, and eventually, hopefully, I think the goal is to, if we can change sort of the environment from within, and so people don't get away with this crap they try to like sort of feed to us. Hopefully, things will change.
Yeah.
That's the end game. Let me just adjust here real quick so I can look at you.
Oh, I know.
So I can look at your pretty face.
I understand. Am I good where I'm at?
Oh yeah, you're
Alright.
perfect. But we have like a weird thing where I'm not really looking at you.
Look into my
Yeah. Look into the fire.
eyes. Yeah, right.
Back when Game of Thrones was still good, and they did that. They did that. So I'm rewatching the whole thing from season 1, season 1, episode 1. All right, so Fail of Thrones, Shame of Thrones. So yeah, so I've been rewatching since season 1, episode 1, and the first 4 seasons are still so good. I even liked the Battle of Bastards is probably my second favorite episode of all time.
That was definitely like the peak of the show,
Yeah.
in my opinion. Like it got such good reviews after that, because that was the biggest battle up until that point.
Yeah.
You know?
And it was like season 1 through 4 and kind of into 5. You're still working with the source material from the book, so they still had George R.R. Martin kind of giving them,
Direction
and notes from the book.
Yeah.
But the second that the book material went away, you could see right away that like it started to go downhill.
Yeah. Yeah, you could
very slowly.
Yeah, you could see like where he kind of stepped away, and that's where it was just like.
And I even liked season 7. Not,
Yeah, I wasn't like. I mean, some people weren't crazy about it. I wouldn't say that it was the best season ever, but I wasn't like hating on it as much as I am season 8.
The last episode we put out, we talked about 1 through 4, and we were ranting about the Battle of Winterfell and how awful that was.
Yeah.
So we already did a whole episode on that. So now we have the pleasure, of reviewing The Bells, and
The Last Watch.
yeah. Okay, so The Bells, as a Targaryen, as a hardcore Targaryen, I actually enjoyed that one. I thought that was, out of the entire season, that I think was the best.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite episodes just because the Mad Queen, fine. Like that's, I think, something a lot of people predicted. And it sort of makes sense with her character arc.
Yeah.
I think. What's your opinion on that?
So I have nothing against her becoming the Mad Queen.
Yep.
I think they, if you look back, you can see all the foreshadowing. It's there. They planted that there. But I I think it was a YouTuber, Trope Anatomy. He did this
Trope
really,
Anatomy. There's a shout out.
yeah, he
Okay.
did. I love all of his videos. He's very intellectual.
There were a lot of tropes in this
Yeah.
season, especially at the end.
But
With plot armor comes tropes.
he did a really good job explaining how foreshadowing is not character development.
Oh yeah, that's the video you sent me, right?
I think so. Yeah,
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 okay.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I did send it to you.
And that's true.
Yeah, and his whole thing is he's like, it's not that we hate what the outcome was. It's how they just shoved everything in your face and made things happen to Daenerys for her to get to that point.
Yeah, it was not really. So, here's the thing: is that I think most of the fans and the fandom menace, whatever, are okay with that particular ending,
Mm-hmm.
but cramming it into 6 seasons just so that they could go ruin the last. So they could go ruin Star Wars
Mhm.
next, and Rianne Johnson. We're always kicking
I
each
know.
other.
I was about to be like, oh, there we go again.
Crossed off something on your ESP bingo sheet. Brooke and I are kicking each other under the table again. But no, they were in such a rush to go ruin Star Wars because that's exactly what they're going to do with Star Wars.
Yeah, and
That they ruined Game of Thrones in the process.
I actually
Totally rushed.
I read. I had told her before the show that I'm on Reddit all the time,
Oh yeah.
and I was
Are
looking
you on
through.
our Free Folk? Because that's like the
No.
one spot to go for all the
Really?
Game of Thrones memes. Yeah.
I just
r
follow.
slash Free Folk.
I just follow Game of Thrones subgroup. Oh dang!
And then there's like a battle cry too. We are not kneelers, or we do not kneel.
I'll have to go searching.
And
through
they call
some
everyone else the
groups.
normies and the kneelers and
Oh, of course.
people who
yeah.
are sort of shills
all
for
these
the
code
show.
names that I'm
Yeah.
not aware of. I guess I'm not a true fan.
No, you're definitely not a normie for sure because you're on the show.
Yeah.
So
Well. But no. So I was reading, just through Reddit comments, and somebody made a really good point where the reason why it felt so rushed and just felt so crammed. If you look at one of the highest ranking seasons, season 4, it had 10 or 12 episodes. I think it was 10. And if you highlight all of like the major events that happened throughout the whole season, and he kind of goes through and lists, he makes it a point where he's like, there was a runtime of like 545 minutes total with about X amount of big things happening. So about 4 big events were happening per episode.
right.
But if you go to season 8, it was only a total runtime of like 433 minutes
Okay.
and a total of 10 big events happening
Yep.
per episode.
Yeah, that was the inherent problem.
So it was just these events happening one right after the other, and we didn't even have time to like, oh, this thing just happened, now this other thing is happening,
So Daenerys becoming the Mad Queen is in theory totally believable.
Right.
But
it totally is.
having her just be like, "Nah,"
Just-
and
and,
then
like-
just
like
fly
if-
off.
If you go back,
Fly off the dragon.
she's been through so much over the last couple of seasons, over the last few years.
She didn't fly off the handle.
And
she
she's
flew off the
never
dragon.
she's never lost her cool. I mean, and again, it's believable that would
Well, she
eventually
kinda has
happen.
at some points, or
Well,
like
she-
been really vicious and brutal. So it was
Right, and she
yeah.
has, but it's always been justified in some way.
Yes, exactly.
It's
That
never
is
just
true.
been like,
Totally
you're
random.
completely innocent and I'm going to kill you because I want to.
Yeah.
It's always been justified in her eyes anyway, no matter how brutal it was. And to say that just because, another one of her dragons died, she lost half of
Miss
her army.
Sunday.
Miss Sunday died and Jorah died.
Did you
now
see that meme
What?
with Grey Worm? He's looking down at the ground, and it's a Sunday in the dirt, and
My
it
Sunday.
says Miss Sunday.
But no, like so what? Because of a couple of people close to her died, and she lost a dragon, she's just gonna slaughter millions of people. It doesn't make sense to me.
Well, I mean, I saw an article in Vox of all places that explained it in a tactical decision, or more. I mean, not like Vox or any experts on that, but the idea was that she is asserting her authority and control so that no one else in the Seven Kingdoms will rebel against her ever. Should she, I think at that point she thought she was going to sit on the Iron Throne indefinitely. Stupid Jon
Well, I
Snow.
mean, at that point, they had made her a tyrant. And all tyrants think that they are doing the right thing, right? And that's kind of what her big speech at the end is before she gets killed.
The Hitler speech?
We're going to we've liberated King's Landing, let's go liberate Dorne and Winterfell and everybody else, essentially saying, let's go murder people who don't bend the knee, right. So, again, I mean, I just don't think that they gave us enough time. And enough...
by enough time, you mean the 3 seconds that they gave us?
Yeah.
Can you scoot this way a little bit?
Yeah.
Just a smidgen. There you go. I just want to...
Gotcha.
I want you to be able to be seen on the Facebook feed.
Hi, everybody.
And you're still good on the other camera.
Okay.
So, yeah, you're absolutely right. It should have been done over, 2 to 3 episodes. But instead, it was done in a 5-second window.
Yep.
Like a short 5-second window where she just, like I said before, just and just snapped.
Yeah.
And kind of flew down and killed everybody.
It wasn't just things happening with Daenerys.
She renovated King's Landing.
It was other
doing renovations.
Jaime Lannister. That was the worst ending for that character in my opinion, because he had gone from such a low place to such a high place, from being such a crappy person to a semi-decent person. And obviously, like, the beginning of the season, he leaves King's Landing to go to Winterfell. That is his betrayal against Cersei. That's him kind of turning his back on Cersei, essentially, and saying, this is me, whatever happens to you happens, because this is me turning away from you. So him running back to her after learning that, Daenerys was ambushed.
I thought he was going to go kill her and open the gates.
That would have been cool.
Yeah.
And again,
that would have been like in line with the character arc that he had.
So it just did not make sense. And
it made zero sense.
If you look at, they do the Inside the Episode on HBO.
Oh God.
Where
the apologists.
Dave and Dan or whatever, the
Dumber and
director,
Dumber.
where they talk about why we made these stupid decisions that we decided to do.
We really wanted the bear.
Yeah.
And they said, Dan and Dave, you have to focus on other things. And we said, we want the damn bear. Remember that? The polar bear thing?
No,
the zombie polar bear?
Oh, yes. Okay, yeah. What, they demanded that they wanted that?
They demanded the zombie polar bear.
Oh,
and they're like, we kind of need this money elsewhere.
Hold on, I'm just going to, because I feel like I'm leaning
And they were like, no, zombie polar bear.
Yeah, so no, Inside the Episode where they talk about why Jaime goes back to Cersei. And they go back to one scene, like, seasons ago, where he's asked by a character.
Seasons ago.
Yeah, where he's asked by a character.
At the start of his character arc.
Right.
Go ahead, sorry.
Somebody asks him, if you could die in any way, how would you want to die? And he says, in the arms of the woman that I love.
Right.
And Inside the Episode, they reference this one scene, and that's their justification for him running back to Cersei, is because he loves her and he knows that she's going to die, and he would rather die with her than have her die alone. Which makes no sense. Sorry. Because if he really did love her so much, he would have never left her and gone to Winterfell in the first place.
Yeah.
Why did that even happen?
Because I thought that he was finally realizing how much of a crazy bitch she was.
No, apparently not. They just did so many things that made...
Or how much of an evil bitch she was.
Yeah.
But she was a good villain.
And that's another thing, is she was such a good villain, and her death, there was no justification.
Well, for the entirety of the episode, she just kind of... All she did was stand. All she
stand
did
and stare.
was was literally stand and stare out the window. She did a really good job of staring out that window, holding up that railing. And
like, honestly, you're telling me that you're gonna see a dragon decimating your city, and you're gonna be like, nah, we're good.
She had some good face twitches.
Like, nah, the Red Keep won't fall. We're fine. We're
fine.
That
that was a little strange, and that was rushed.
Like, that was just, let's just keep her in the Red Keep for as long as we can so we can make the building collapse on top of her. Like,
and then Jaime's able to make it to the end of the episode with a fatal stab wound.
Yeah.
And a collapsed lung.
Right. Like, just...
They were implying that he had a collapsed lung.
Yeah.
Which is, at that point, would be a hemopneumothorax. There's your medical experience coming in. And that can be fatal, like, pretty quickly.
Yeah, there was no logic, obviously.
Oh yeah.
put into this episode.
So
or
my
this last season rather.
zero. My joke was that everyone's always saying, "What the hell's Bran doing this whole time?" And I keep saying he's trying to close the holes in the fabric of reality, the plot holes in the fabric of reality that are basically tearing the world apart.
When he was off
He's trying to-
warging.
Yeah, so he was either doing that or watching Endgame, which we said last time.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
BRB watching Endgame, or he was watching Brightburn this time or something.
How is that? Have you heard?
I've heard good things.
I've heard good things too.
But I haven't actually seen it yet. It's like evil Superman.
Yeah.
spin-off, yeah. As a
with
teenager.
yeah.
I heard it's pretty gruesome.
I mean,
Yeah.
just from like the trailers that I've seen are very
Like he
short.
punches someone and they
so-
explode.
Yeah, like crazy stuff.
The Angry Joe show said it was good. So
Like a hormonal super.
yeah,
He's like,
edgy,
no, mom.
edgy teenage Superman. Where were we?
Oh, Bran.
middle of
Bran.
middle of season 8, episode 5.
I honestly,
Middle of the bells.
I feel like the only character that kind of made any sense this season was Sansa. She, I feel,
Yes.
stayed the most true to her character than anybody.
I. Bran's junk doesn't work.
Also,
What?
no. What about the North? No, but we all knew that was going to happen anyway.
Okay, segueing into episode 6 now. God, Jesus, the worst episode in the history of television, I think, which was, I think this is worse than Lost, the ending.
Yeah.
Because I thought they were going somewhere where they were going to redeem with the final episode, because they had me hooked at the end of the bells, even with all the problems. They still had me hooked because I was like, okay, she's the Mad Queen. She just, whatever, that's fine. I can buy into her being the Mad Queen.
Right.
And at that point, I was like, but they need to do something. And even at the start of episode 6, when she came out and gave the speech, and all of her Dothraki and her Unsullied multiplied again.
Yeah. Yeah. Just magically has an army again.
The respawn timer is only 30 seconds in first-person shooters, so if we're in like a medieval combat, it might be only 60 seconds. This is not team deathmatch. This is not survival. This is team deathmatch.
Yeah.
Where the points don't matter, and what's the bit from Whose Line?
Yeah. They always say something.
Nothing. Yeah. Well, Westeros. It's like where the logic doesn't matter and the plot holes are infinite. Something like that.
Something along those lines. Yeah.
So the council. All right. So this whole episode was a shit show. It was a disaster of epic proportions. And again, I think it was worse than the ending of Lost. I never saw Dexter. Spoilers, but my brother was telling me that he just goes off to be a lumberjack. At the end.
and I mean,
What?
and it's honestly, it's
This
not so
seems
much
worse than
how
that.
like the events that unfold, like whatever he goes off and lives in the woods, but
And you've
they
seen all of it,
murder.
right?
He goes totally against his character in. You didn't watch the show, so you're not gonna kind of understand really. He was
I
basically.
saw the first 2 seasons.
Well, he was a serial killer with somewhat
Yeah.
of a moral code, right? He
Yeah,
only went
yeah.
after killers and stuff. And
most of
he
season
would
1 and 2.
he would dispose of these bodies
bay.
in the bay.
Yeah.
And in the last episode, his sister, who has been the only like love in his life ever, dies. And what does he do? He takes her out and drops her body off in the bay, and then goes and F's offs and becomes a lumberjack.
Yep.
Wh-
Sounds
what
like
sense does that
episode
make
6.
at all? Like, that's his graveyard for like rapists and murderers, and he's like,
Yeah.
"This is where you belong, sister." Like, no, that
Yeah,
would
it
have
seems
never
kinda strange.
happened. Why wouldn't you have just left her body there? She was a police officer. Like, she would have gotten a
Yeah.
good burial and a good memorial.
Yeah, I
like-
should have gotten a parade.
Right. Nope, and he was like, "I'm going to take your body with me for whatever reason." But again, a perfect example of just going against everything that has been what the character has been for however long,
That
Butchered.
council, yeah. Well, that council at the end is kind of what bothers me the most about
What
episode 6.
was the overall displeasure in the council meeting?
Well, just the fact, and this is what I was tying into the fan fiction, is that Yara was clearly not okay with what was happening.
Right.
The Prince of Dorne, who was sitting right next to her, didn't really say anything.
Mm-hmm.
Was just looking very concerned. But even all the other lords of Westeros, you have a Stark on the throne, and then his sister in the north says, "Oh, well, we're going to be independent too, and be an free and independent kingdom."
And he's just like,
and you mean to
'Kay."
tell me that that the other 6 kingdoms were all like, "Okay, that's fine,
Right.
cool."
Yeah, we'll be under this.
You
You
go,
know,
girl.
Yeah.
That's like kind
You
of
just
taking
go
like
ahead
the girl
and-
power trope a little bit too far,
Right.
Because it's like, no, all the other lords, including Yara, that's like Yara's a strong, I think one of the strongest female characters in the show.
Of course, yeah.
I want to talk about like real strong female characters, because I was like, Sansa's not really a strong female character. I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for that, but like she doesn't really do anything.
Well, she's just. I think
a good actress.
Yeah, well, her whole character started off as like
Yeah.
a snobby rich girl, and then she went through
Yeah, she had
a lot of trauma. But even the trauma isn't what made her strong. It was being around all of these masterminds, being around Littlefinger and being around Cersei, and being able to see how manipulative the government can be and how manipulative, higher ups can be. So she like that's why like. Towards the end, she started seeing through Lord Baelish's crap, basically.
Yeah, and I do like Sansa. I do like the character of Sansa. I'm pretty okay with Sophie Turner as an actress. I was reading something about how she kind of came after fans about the general displeasure with the episode, with the fandom menace and everything. But I didn't read too much of it. I'm gonna have to go back and read all the source material about that, in detail. But that's kind of just like something that was floated by me very quickly.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I like Sansa. I think as far as resilient characters go, she's up there, but she is definitely very family oriented, and I think sometimes that clouds her ability, to make proper decisions.
I used to be one of my favorite characters, but this season kind of just destroyed her for
and
me.
that like she, and not to say that she was
She's
never
gonna go discover America.
Well, yeah, like
the end of
Arya Columbus over there, but not to say that she was never an emotional character. Obviously, she was, but once she became an assassin, she became very stoic and she became very in control of her emotions, and especially in that council meeting where she was like, "You keep talking about killing my brother, and I'll slit your throat." And like, I was just like, "Oh, of course they had to add in an Arya, quip right there." Like,
why was Samwell Tarly at this council meeting?
I don't know. Aren't the Tarleys? Wasn't Catelyn Tarly? Oh no, she was
Tully.
Tully.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. But they are one of
Tully, Tarly, Stark, Karstark.
Yeah.
That happens a lot.
Right. But they are one of the bigger houses.
Yes. Yep.
And
But
Daenerys
he's just
burned.
randomly sitting there.
Well, Daenerys burned his father and brother, so he's the last.
Well,
of his
they're not
family.
one of the representatives of like that of any of the kingdoms, though. So he's just kind of there. Same thing with Davos.
Well, he's the Citadel person now, right?
But they had the new Maester, but they hadn't really talked about that at that point. It was just kind of he was just there.
Yeah, he was just
randomly.
there. Yeah.
And then when Aya materialized out of thin air in episode 3, I was like, oh, okay, I'm not.
Yeah.
This is beyond a reasonable doubt to believe in. This has removed me completely from believability.
And not only that, but like, and I get the whole.
She was doing the Wraith thing from
What is
Apex. She was doing the phasing thing that Wraith was doing.
she's going through the
Setting up a
vortex.
portal.
No, another thing that like I just laughed at during that council meeting was, and I understand like the chain of commands, like the king has to be have the last word or whatever. But Grey Worm, who has Jon Snow and has Tyrion,
You are not here to speak.
yeah, and he's just like, it's not for you to decide, and he's like, you're right, you guys figure it out.
Well, he's like, he tells Tyrion that he's not. He says, you are not here to speak, and Tyrion says, oh. He kind of shuts up for a second, and then he just starts talking anyway. And Grey Worm's like,
Well, and then there's one scene where, while still in chains, and they're trying to decide who to make king, they're like, "What do you think, Tyrion?"
Yeah.
I'm like, Tyrion shouldn't have any say whatsoever in anything right
And then
now.
Grey Worm's like, yes, tell us what you think.
Yeah, like, let's hear. And then he, like, does the whole, like he's kind of walking around and looking down at the ground,
he's
like,
doing
so
the-
in thought.
Yeah.
And he's, like, you know, trying to appeal to everybody in the council. And it's just like, you're a prisoner right now. Like, he shouldn't be talking at all.
Why is he speaking?
Oh, it was just so,
Bran
like...
the broken.
It's like, oh, let's hear Tyrion's wise words once more.
Bran the busted up. Bran the wheelie legs no feely.
Oh, gosh. No.
Yeah, that's the other one. Or so the Game of Thrones WTF edition. Go watch that for episode 6 because it's amazing. And what Brooke was just referencing is there's this great bit in the end where they
It's just all
Podrick,
edited and, like,
yeah.
they edit it to make it, like, them say funny things and stuff.
Podrick is wheeling in Bran on his wheelchair, and they recycle him wheeling in about 6 times, and it's really loud.
And it's him just, like, coming in on the chair all loud, and everyone's, like, just uncomfortable.
And Tyrion says, "We have homeless, hungry people to feed. Can we expect some assistance in this matter?" And Bran just goes, "No." And then they just wheel him off, which is basically like a perfect analogy. It's like a perfect representation of how the show ended, because he literally came into the council, said like 2 words, and was like, "All right, I'm gonna go back to playing my flight simulator now,
Right.
Dragon Flight Sim."
Yeah.
Or apparently, because it was Crow Flight Simulator before. Now it's Dragon Flight Sim.
Yeah,
So,
power
and
that.
a lot of these are memes, by the way. So a lot of these jokes are not mine; they're from our free folk, and a lot of these have been referenced already by some of the super chats and some of the fans of Gary at Nerdrotic, and also on the Angry Joe show. So credit to them for being the first couple of channels to release major videos with all the memes in there. So again, check out Angry Joe's channel, check out Nerdrotic, and definitely visit the R Free Folk. I'm just recycling memes, and then obviously the WTF edition that
Yeah.
I do. So
That
those,
was a good one.
Those are your references. Most of these memes and jokes come from those sources. So go and check those out. So
Yeah. Just so people know that you're not stealing
yes,
stuff.
yes. So nobody accuses me of stealing jokes or memes.
That's my joke.
These are all memes that have come about from either the Nerdrotic channel, from the Angry Joe show, or from most of this is from our free folks. So most of them are memes already.
Yeah.
So, but there's only so much you can say about, a stupid episode.
Yeah. I mean,
About an awful episode.
I seriously could just go on and on and on about how things didn't add up. They didn't line up. They made, another comment that I had read from someone on Reddit was how they just totally destroyed Sam Tarley's character, and how he had gone from such a scared boy, from beyond the wall, or when he was at the wall and went, north and whatever. He went and killed a White Walker. He got a girlfriend. He started kind of being his own person.
Gaining confidence.
And then in that battle with the White Walkers, they make him into a scared little boy again, and they make him
there's
run
a lot
away
of character
in the
regression.
yeah. It's like
So there's another great meme, and by the way, I think that the flight simulator, I think that's from the Angry Joe show. I just wanted to go because this is important. I just wanted to go back to that. I think that Angry Joe was the first person to say it. So,
is Angry Joe on YouTube? Is
yes,
that, okay.
yep.
YouTuber.
So there is a meme though it's an existing meme, and it's Jaime Lannister's character arc, and it's just a white background and a black circle. That's all it is, just a circle.
Sounds about right.
Yes. Circular character
Yeah,
arcs.
that's about right.
And then obviously Sam Wells was circular too, as you mentioned,
Yeah.
from when he went beyond the wall.
Yeah.
When he first arrived at Castle Black.
What are you gonna
So
do?
disappointing.
Yeah.
Well, we can we can sign the petition, unsubscribe from HBO, and let them know that we're not satisfied as customers, as fans, as consumers with what they've released.
What are they gonna care? They already got paid.
Well, the petition, because it's bad for business, and they're going to lose so many subscribers. That's how you can vote with your dollar.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
can vote with your dollar by unsubscribing.
But they're still just gonna keep pumping out shows. Did you watch True Blood at all?
Not if no one. I was going to bring that up because somebody brought up the ending, and they said Nerdrotic, again, credit directly to Nerdrotic. Someone had said on that channel, I don't know if it was Gary himself or one of the super chats, that the ending of True Blood was a giant middle finger to the fans.
Yep.
Can you confirm that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Huge.
Yeah, I've never seen more than past season 3. So
Oh, it's such a good show until that last season.
yeah.
It's so. I mean, and there's a couple seasons where you're like,
Okay.
all right, this one's not as good, but like, it's still just like, you know, they keep just moving forward in a forward
Yeah.
direction.
No one's saying suke anymore though.
Well, not in that last season, that's
Yeah.
for sure. But like, I think that's a perfect example of such a cookie cutter ending.
Yeah.
You know, total fan service. You know, let's just
And
throw
that's
everything
what this
out
is
the
with the
window.
Starks. This was a Stark
Yep.
fan fiction.
Yep.
That's all this was,
Mm-hmm.
and it was awful.
I agree.
And the fact that no one objected to Sansa being
Yeah,
queen
and just
in the North.
everybody just being okay,
Okay.
with certain decisions. Yeah, like
We'll all bend the knee, but Sansa could be a free queen in the North.
right. Well, I think it's supposed to be implied that like the North has always wanted, you know, to become an independent kingdom.
Yeah, but inherently so does every other.
Right, but that's what
Kingdom.
I'm saying. Like,
Right.
wouldn't every kingdom want to become independent? Obviously, like everyone wants to be their own king and
You're
queen.
gonna
like,
give yourself a migraine if you try to patch up the plot holes in this season. We'll leave that to Bran.
Yeah,
That one was my joke. Is that he was doing a Doctor Strange thing, trying to patch up the fabric of reality that D&D were tearing in it.
and like, what was the point of Bran being the Third Eye Raven exactly?
Oh, there was none. There was absolutely no point.
Other than telling Jon that he was a Targaryen, which
He was
that
Jigsaw.
was for no reason.
He was
as well.
Jigsaw because he let all those. That was what in the WTF edition. It was implying that he was.
we're gonna
Yeah.
play a little game.
No, seriously, which was one of my favorite parts because it's like he knew this was all going to happen, and didn't say anything, and then got himself on the throne. So he's like a mass murdering psychopath, apparently.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Why do you think I came all this way?
I don't really want anymore.
I don't want it.
I don't want it. Yeah, it's just.
McQueen.
Did you see
The pie chart?
No, the documentary series episode.
No,
that,
I couldn't because I was so disgusted with how it ended.
I will say that there were some interesting parts. Like, it was cool to see them make people into the White Walkers, and then the mummified White Walkers, and you know, all the green screen and just everything that went into like making the show so great. But they spent, and I'm not trying to hate on, you know, the people that work behind the scenes. Obviously, they have a lot at stake, and they they have to like
those were
like
the
they're-
good people.
they followed
those were the free folk.
They followed a couple of different people around
Mhm.
throughout the episode, and it shows one woman. She's on the phone with her daughter a lot because she obviously isn't home as much. So I mean, they sacrifice a lot, you
Right.
know?
It's not the actors. The actors did a fantastic job. Everyone else except D&D did a great job
Mhm.
with this whole series.
However,
It
they
was
spent
the writing that was awful.
they spent so much time in this documentary episode following these people around that they went on. There was this one guy who like does the snow.
Yeah.
Right. He's
Which is
he's
cool.
he's
The
the
snow
snow guy. Way too much. They went back to the snow guy putting snow on the set, and it's like, okay, he put snow places. Like, I get it. He has a big task. Like, he has a big job, but
There's a lot of snow.
there's I move away from the snow.
And then there's Jon Snow, who
And,
had 2 lines this entire season.
I was just watching it with I watched it with my mom, my stepmom, and my dad, and so many times we were looking at each other and we're like, "Is this all the
It's just-
documentary
we're
is
going back to the
about?"
snow guy.
Like, I'm sorry that this lady, you know, doesn't get to see her daughter a lot, but that's not why I want to watch this documentary. Like, I want to see more about Game of Thrones. But anyway, my point in mentioning that was there's one scene where they're all doing a read through, and some characters like Amelia Clark had all
Best season ever.
Yeah,
You've
right.
seen that, right?
when she gets asked
Yeah.
in the interview.
That's one of my favorite things.
So I guess what they did was they sent the scripts out to everybody.
Yep.
3 days before the reading, and Amelia Clark read it.
Mm-hmm.
Certain
I've
other
heard
people
this.
read it, but
Yeah.
people like Kit Harington didn't read it. So that was his first time reading it. Was at that open read through.
Disappointing.
Did you? Well, yeah. Did you see the reaction though of him of like them reading it out loud that he stabs Daenerys and kills her.
No.
He's very upset. Like he like pushes away and he's just like shaking his head, like not happy about it at all. And then even when
I have to watch that now.
when they read that Varys dies, Brienne, I'm not sure what her actual name is.
Yeah.
But she like puts her arm around
Gwendolyn
him.
Christie?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like everybody, you could just tell that it was like
Yeah,
a
'cause it
tense
was awful.
atmosphere. Yeah.
Because it's crap writing.
Yep.
It's
And there was
awful writing.
it was like they were shooting the last scene.
Yeah.
And Kit Harington's dressed as Jon Snow, and
I'm gonna have to go and watch that.
I'm not
That
sure
would be-
which directors are which. Dan, I think.
They're,
I don't know. One of them.
They're both idiots.
One of them were.
They're both idiots.
One of them was on set and was like giving a speech because it was the last shot, and Kit's standing right there, and he's like, oh, you wanna say a couple of words, and he's like, sure. Like you could just tell his heart.
The
like,
writers?
No, like Kit.
Yeah, Kit.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, Dan. One of the directors is like, oh, you want to say
Yeah, okay,
say something
alright,
to
I
the
gotcha.
crew, and yeah, he was like,
Disappointing.
He's like, I guess I'll say something about this crap
Yeah, no,
season.
that was the biggest disservice that was
Yeah.
ever done to any character in the history of television, in
Yeah.
my opinion.
Yeah.
Biggest disservice ever, and I'll go on record saying that, is this Daenerys, the whole thing, and just the way that she went out. Are you kidding me?
Mhm.
Are you
Yeah.
freaking kidding me?
Yeah.
It did not. That's so out of character for Jon Snow,
Right.
and it's just hack writing.
Well, even they were obviously noting towards Daenerys kind of not trusting Jon Snow, or not even not trusting, but seeing him as a threat to the throne, obviously, because he had more of a right to the throne. And they kind of made little hint, like they made little hints here and there of her kind of being like, don't know about this, like giving Jon a weird look and stuff. And then in that last scene, she's just like, I love you so much.
Yeah, and by
Let's
the way,
burn all the cities together.
and she had no personal guard
Right.
with her,
Yeah.
and people were, some people were saying, oh, it's the dragon was the guard, but for her to be totally alone when they already showed that no one trusted Jon Snow, for him to just waltz in there
Right.
and have her be by herself and
Yeah,
everyone be
it
like,
just-
okay, have fun,
They would just
was ridiculous.
Yep.
Absolutely ridiculous.
well, like I think I had said this already because I think we had already talked about the episode where she gets ambushed, right?
Which one?
With where she gets ambushed by Euron
Oh, God.
and the dragon
Yeah.
dies. And on the inside the episode, the director's like, well, Danny just kind of forgot about the Iron Fleet. Oh?
They
Oh,
also,
that's so easy
they
for,
also-
for
they-
you then, right? Like,
they also kind of forgot how to write the writers,
yeah. There's I saw,
which is their excuse for everything. Oh, they just forgot about it.
right. But that's what I mean,
But she
just
would be able to
lazy.
see it anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, when you're flying with friggin' 2 dragons, you're not going to be able to see.
It's just hack writing.
Yeah, or like Peter Dinklage.
And poor Tyrion.
I
like,
know. Well,
they
that
totally just sabotaged everything. that he'd done up
Everything.
to that point.
there was like a little clip of him talking about them being in the crypts. And
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
the-
He's like, they put the women and children.
he's like, he says like, Tyrion's supposed to be smart, but I guess he's not that smart. Because even he knows, like, what?
I
like,
did see that one.
come on.
And then when he was asked about the season, he said something clever, and then he said, "No, D&D are the best writers in
Oh
television."
yeah, like he's just like, like almost like a robot.
Yeah.
He's like, this is the best season ever. Dave and Dan are geniuses.
Clearly not.
Yeah.
Clearly not. Definitely, just like Kit was right. Disappointing.
Yeah. Very much so.
And
And again, like I think like for instance something like the crypt scene, if they had just tweaked things, like maybe if they had acknowledged, oh, maybe people in the crypt are going to come back, and Tyrion saying something like, well, it's
nobody
still
thought of that.
well, it's still the
apparently.
safest place for the
Yeah.
women and children to be. That would have totally like been like, okay, well, Tyrion's still a smart guy,
Mhm.
you know, acknowledging that dead people are going to come back to life, but they overlooked so many things. It was just lazy. It was really lazy and clumsily thrown together.
Yeah, and then speaking of Tyrion, and then we'll wrap up here because we're going a little bit over time.
Yeah.
But at the very end, when the whole you're not here to speak thing,
Yeah.
and then he speaks anyway, and then at the very end, Grey Worm still there, Bran's like, "You're gonna be my hand to the king," and Grey Worm's
Yeah,
like,
while he's
"Huh."
still in chains.
Yeah,
He's
and
like, "You're gonna be my hand." Like,
Does Grey Worm even say anything, or does he just
well,
say,
he's
"Okay,
just mad, obviously,
Yeah.
but like, it's not his decision.
I choose you. I don't want it.
I don't
choose
want
you."
it.
Pokemon Ball, Master Ball,
Oh
go!
man.
That was great. So this will go down in history as one of the biggest failures
Well, we'll just have to look forward to
in television history ever.
your post
Fan
story.
fiction, yeah.
Yeah.
And yours. So
Somewhat.
and the horror that you're writing.
I'm really excited
Yeah.
about that.
Heck yes. I'll never say
Writing
heck.
girls.
Hardworking writing girls. All right. So do you have any final thoughts on this dumpster fire? Because that's what it is.
I feel bad for the actors.
I do. Oh my god, I totally
Yeah.
do. I don't know what Sophie Turner said. I'm gonna have to look it up, but I do feel bad for genuinely speaking for most of the actors
Yeah.
because they didn't deserve that.
I had read
They
that.
did the best with what they had.
I had read that Amelia Clark, upon finding out that she
Freaked
burns
out,
down
yeah.
King's Landing and then she dies, I guess she like went to her family members
Mhm.
and like reached out to people.
Yeah.
And because obviously she knows how invested some people are in Daenerys.
Yeah,
And she
myself included.
and she asked them like, is there anything that Daenerys could do that would make you hate her? Like she was just like questioning like. She was just like, no, my character.
I still don't hate
like,
her. I still don't hate her.
I know you love the Targaryen,
House Targaryen
fire
all
and
the
blood.
way. Loyalty until the end.
Yeah,
Always. Fire and blood.
Greyjoy.
Yes.
all day.
Hell yeah. That's right. I wrote Brooke into my story as the daughter. Oh no, wait, I shouldn't say anything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wait, don't give it away.
Just in case people want to read my fan fiction.
Yeah.
But
Which you do.
yes,
It's she's
we're
put
at 5.7 thousand words right now.
you put a lot into it, a lot of thought.
I try.
I mean,
Gotta
when you
have an
sent me
outlet for
that
my
table of
creativity.
contents, I was like, oh, you're going in. Like, okay.
Going ham on the fan fiction. Heck yes. But I did write both myself and Brooke into it, so I am a third generation bastard girl Targaryen, and we find Brooke standing next to as one of Yara's new reavers, and your name is Thalia,
Thalia, I like
and
that.
my name is Eryn with an AE. So Eryn, who had a common name, but obviously traced her lineage, and once Daenerys sort of started coming to the forefront of events in. I think the world itself is called Planetos, but like in the world, and people were getting whispers of what she was doing in Essos. That's when my character goes off to try and find Daenerys, and she's able to and she's always kind of known about her heritage, but it was a secret, just so that her whole family wouldn't be assassinated by
Of course.
the
the
Baratheon agents.
Yep.
So even being a third generation bastard girl,
It's still enough.
yeah. So eventually she takes up the last name Targaryen.
Mhm.
So and then we find out what your last name is eventually, but right now you're just Thalia the Reaver.
Which
One
I'm
of-
okay with.
One of Yara's Reavers.
Yeah.
So. But that's write your own stuff, write fan fiction. Garrick Neurotic said that first. He was one of the first people to encourage everyone to write your own stuff, whatever it is. So that sort of encouraged me, and then I'm paying it forward and encouraging everyone to write your own stuff.
Well, you
Seriously.
definitely inspired
You
me.
too. Oh,
I mean,
see?
you.
Passing
you-
it along, paying it forward.
I had
The
already
writing bug.
I had already been like posting on the horror subgroup
Yeah.
and Reddit. Asking people about plots that they enjoy or plots
Yeah.
that they haven't seen before. Just because I was like, is there really anything that is new in horror these days, or is everything just like a derivative of something else?
Right. Well, your idea is like a nice blending of two different.
Yeah, like
two different tropes, so.
it's a cool new fresh idea
Yeah.
that I got going. But that was all you. That was all because of you.
Oh, thank you.
No, thank you.
That's very sweet. All right, so before we start gushing on how awesome we are
both
to each
are.
other, yes, we're gonna wrap it up now because we're about 10 minutes over time, which is fine. 10 minutes, 10 minutes works perfectly.
Like you,
so.
you guys don't like listening to us.
Oh
come
yeah.
on.
So yeah, ESP season 2, episode 5. The failure, the epic failure of Game of Thrones.
The downfall of
Yes.
GOT.
Yeah. Worst episode ever.
I just
Simpsons
feel
reference.
like this is just like so
Yeah.
depressing to talk about. Just like,
Yeah.
okay, well that's it.
Well,
Yes.
we're gonna end just like the show did, on a highly disappointing note.
Yeah. yeah.
So thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next week because we skipped a week. So
Oh yeah.
thanks
that's right.
everyone. We'll see you next week. Go
Thanks.
rate your own stuff.
Yeah.
I'm
Be
sorry.
creative.
I'm sorry y'all had to deal with this. My sincerest condolences. Hopefully-
Be creative.
Oh, and again, Gary Nerdrotic said this first, but I have been watching The Expanse since season 1, since it first came out, and I will agree with Gary Nerdrotic. It is one of the best shows on television. And when he first said that on his show, I was like, yes, I frickin' love The Expanse. Amazing. I was calling it Game of Thrones in space, which is exactly what he said.
Ooh.
And a lot of people on different, threads and on different social media sites were saying it was one of the best shows. It was comparable to Game of Thrones. But yeah, go watch The Expanse. It's an amazing show. I'm all caught up. I was watching it as it was released. It's amazing.
Ooh.
Highly recommended. Kind of
All
it
right.
kind of reminds me of Mass Effect. It's got like a Mass Effect feel to
All
it.
right.
Yeah, it's like
I
a
can get
live
down with
action
that.
Mass Effect. That's
Yeah, I'll have to check that out.
with some Game of Thrones elements, but it's more kind of. But we're just in our solar system.
Okay.
It's Earth, the Mars, and the Belt. They call them Belters. So,
Yeah.
but it does have a really
Fantasy
good,
feel.
Yeah, or a really similar Mass Effect feel. So
Okay.
anyway, yeah, go check out The Expanse, and of course, go check out Gary's channel on nerdrotic.com, and Nerdrotic on YouTube, and Angry Joe if you haven't been there yet. Go check that out as well, and then the WTF episodes of Game of Thrones. Any other plugs or anything? That you
Oh,
got?
Trope Anatomy.
Trope
on
Anatomy,
on
yep,
YouTube.
and our Free Folk, of course, on Reddit. As they say on our Free Folk, we do not kneel.
I'll have to. I'm gonna join that group right now when we get off. So.
All right, episode 5 for us. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
you,
you.
my lovely unicorns. We'll see you next time. Bye.